You think you know the story of Aladdin and his magical lamp. You may recall the glittering genie, the humble boy who rose to power, and the dazzling palaces conjured by wishful command. For centuries, this has been told as a charming tale of fortune and fantasy, a dream for children and storytellers alike. But what if I told you the lamp was not simply a vessel of wonder, but a prison for a spirit so ancient, so formidable, that it was bound in iron and flame, hidden from humanity's gaze? What if the cheerful genie was never meant to serve, but to be contained? Hidden beneath the surface of this familiar tale lies a truth that whispers of curses, secret societies, and ancient rituals of binding. Archaeologists and scholars trace its shadow back more than 1,000 years, suggesting that the story of Aladdin may preserve fragments of a forgotten mythology about souls sealed away in sacred vessels. Once upon a time, in the bustling streets of a great eastern city, there lived a poor young man named Aladdin. He was the son of a humble tailor, living with little means but filled with curiosity and youthful ambition. His days were spent wandering through markets and alleys, often finding trouble, yet always yearning for a better life. One day a mysterious stranger approached him. The man claimed to be his long-lost uncle, though in truth he was a cunning sorcerer from distant lands. He lured Aladdin with promises of wealth and adventure, leading him beyond the city walls to a desolate valley. There, hidden beneath the sands, lay a cave sealed with magic. Within this cave, countless treasures sparkled, but at its heart rested a small, unassuming oil lamp. The sorcerer demanded Aladdin retrieve it, but when the youth refused to hand it over without escape, the cavern sealed shut, trapping him inside. Desperate and alone, Aladdin rubbed the lamp, and from its surface erupted a giant being of smoke and flame, a genie bound to serve the master of the lamp. Through this genie's power, Aladdin escaped his prison, amassed riches, and built a palace that outshone the sultan's. With cunning and courage, he defeated the sorcerer, married the princess, and rose from beggar to ruler. The story concludes as one of triumph. The boy who gained the world through fortune and bravery, aided by his loyal genie. This is the tale as we remember it, passed from storyteller to storyteller, embroidered with wonder and joy. Yet beneath this charming narrative lies a darker thread, one that does not speak of wishes, but of ancient imprisonment. But the tale of Aladdin was not always told this way. Its earliest recorded version did not even appear in the original Arabic manuscripts of 1001 Nights. Instead, it surfaced in the 18th century when Antoine Galland, a French scholar and Orientalist, translated the collection into European languages. Galland claimed he had heard the tale from a Syrian storyteller, Hannah Dajab, who recited it orally in Paris. In Galland's version, Aladdin was distinctly tied to the culture of the Middle East, yet the story bore features that reflected European fascination with the exotic East, gleaming palaces, sorcery, and wondrous treasures. Later adaptations in the 19th century softened Aladdin's rougher edges, transforming him into a dreamer of virtue rather than a mischievous youth. In Victorian retellings, the genie became more comical and less menacing, a servant of delight rather than a force of dread. With the rise of modern media in the 20th century, particularly the theatrical pantomimes of England and later animated films, Aladdin was reshaped once more. He became a figure of innocence and romance, his lamp a symbol of harmless magic. The genie, in turn, was portrayed as a humorous companion, devoid of the terrifying awe that once surrounded spirits of fire. Thus, through centuries, the tale has been reshaped by cultural desires, moral instruction in one era, exotic entertainment in another, light-hearted fantasy in ours. Each retelling stripped away older, darker elements, but traces of something older lingered, the hints of sorcery, the secrecy of the cave, the lamp as a prison. What if these fragments point to a far more ancient tradition, one where the lamp was no toy of wishes, but a vessel of containment, a warning left behind by forgotten civilizations? On closer inspection, the story of Aladdin's lamp mirrors myths and legends from distant cultures, each echoing the theme of binding spirits within objects. In Mesopotamian lore, ancient priests spoke of binding demons within clay jars and bronze vessels, sealed with incantations to prevent them from wandering the earth. Archaeological tablets describe rituals where the names of spirits were carved into the very surface of containers, forcing them into obedience. The lamp of Aladdin may be a distant echo of such rites. In Jewish mysticism, the Golem and Dybbuk traditions speak of souls tethered either to clay or to objects, unable to escape without ritual release. The parallel is striking: a spirit, enslaved within a form, compelled to obey the master who holds the seal. From Greece, one recalls the myth of Pandora. Jar later called a box where countless spirits of plague and despair were confined until curiosity released them into the world. The lamp, too, seems less a gift and more a peril, its genie being unleashed by accident. Even in South Asian traditions, the yakshas and rakshasas were sometimes imprisoned in trees, stones, or enchanted artifacts, bound until a human stumbled upon their prison. Could it be then that Aladdin is not merely a lucky boy, but the archetypal figure who encounters a sealed spirit? Could his lamp be more than a magical trinket, perhaps a symbolic remnant of humanity's fear of the invisible, a memory of rituals designed to contain that which should never be freed. The familiar story of rags to riches conceals layers of symbolic depth. The lamp may not represent prosperity, but imprisonment. The genie may not be a servant, but a captive soul. And Aladdin himself may symbolize humanity's reckless tendency to release forces we cannot fully control. In the year 1901, during excavations in Mesopotamia near the ruins of Babylon, researchers uncovered a series of bronze vessels buried deep beneath temple foundations. Each vessel was engraved with inscriptions invoking divine names, commanding unseen beings to remain bound within. Many of the vessels were sealed with pitch and lead, as if to reinforce a supernatural lock. When translated, the cuneiform inscriptions revealed chilling phrases: "Spirit of fire, remain bound. Shadow that devours, do not depart." Scholars immediately drew parallels to the tale of Aladdin's lamp, though at the time such comparisons were dismissed as speculative. Decades later, in 1934, another discovery was made in northern Egypt. Archaeologists unearthed a battered oil lamp in a burial chamber, its surface etched with faded symbols of protection. Though humble in appearance, the lamp had been deliberately entombed, accompanied by amulets invoking warding rites. Some argued this was merely a funerary object, but others suggested it was intended to seal something within. The resonance with Aladdin's lamp could not be ignored. Further east, in Persia, oral traditions collected by ethnographers told of jinn spirits of fire and air who could be bound into rings, bottles, or lamps by skilled magicians. Such tales were not fanciful inventions, but persistent folklore rooted in the fears and beliefs of local communities. They told of entire lineages of magi whose purpose was to confine rebellious spirits so they would not wreak havoc upon the world. Experts now believe the Aladdin tale, in its familiar form, was a late echo of these much older traditions, rather than a story of fortune. It was a warning preserved in narrative, the encounter with a sealed spirit, the peril of curiosity, and the fragile line between master and prisoner. To most audiences, the magical lamp is little more than a symbol of wish fulfillment, the genie a fantastical servant of abundance. Yet when examined through a symbolic and ritualistic lens, their meaning deepens profoundly. The lamp itself, with its narrow spout and chamber of oil, resembles vessels used in funerary rites across ancient cultures. Fire within such lamps was often linked to the soul, guiding it through the realms of death and rebirth. To bind a spirit into a lamp, then, was to anchor it in perpetual twilight between worlds. Thus the lamp may symbolize not wealth, but the containment of death itself. The genie, far from a cheerful companion, represents the volatile essence of the bound soul. His sudden eruption in smoke and flame mirrors descriptions of fire spirits in Mesopotamian and Islamic traditions. He is not a servant by choice but by compulsion, his obedience a mark of his imprisonment. The three wishes he grants may echo the threefold paths of ancient rites: the passage of birth, the trials of life, and the release into death. Aladdin's actions, then, take on a different resonance. When he rubs the lamp, he is not merely summoning a helper, but performing a ritual act awakening a soul bound in fire. His riches, his palace, his triumphs, all stem from bargaining with what should never have been released. And when the sorcerer seeks the lamp, he is not greedy alone, but a figure of dangerous knowledge, attempting to control what others would wisely fear. The tale, decoded in this way, is no child's story of dreams fulfilled. It is a myth of caution, tampering with the realm of the dead, drawing power from imprisoned souls, and the inevitable peril that comes from wielding forces meant to remain sealed. The story of Aladdin and his lamp, long dismissed as a delightful fairy tale, emerges under scrutiny as something far more haunting. It is not merely a rags-to-riches fantasy, nor a whimsical tale of magical wishes. It is the echo of ancient practices, rituals of binding, fears of restless spirits, and humanity's struggle to control what dwells in the unseen. Archaeological discoveries across Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Persia reveal vessels inscribed to hold back spirits of fire. Folklore across cultures confirms the enduring belief that objects could imprison the supernatural. Aladdin's lamp, then, is not a symbol of fortune, but a prison of dreadful necessity. The genie is not a servant of delight, but a bound soul, compelled against its will. When retold through this lens, the tale shifts from triumph to warning. It cautions us of the price of power, the danger of curiosity, and the ancient truth that some doors, once opened, cannot be easily closed. Aladdin's triumph may not be victory at all, but a temporary illusion built upon forces beyond human control. So the next time you hear the familiar story of Aladdin, remember that beneath the colorful surface lies a shadow older than 1,000 years. It is the convergence of fairy tale, archaeology, and myth, a story of imprisonment, binding, and release. A journey not merely from poverty to wealth, but from life into the very realm of death and spirit. And if this truth unsettles you, take it as a warning, for the world is full of stories like Aladdin's, tales that mask ancient fears with a shimmer of fantasy. And who can say what other sealed vessels remain buried in forgotten sands, waiting for a careless hand to set them free?